Hello, this is Slow Night Sleepy Stories. Sometimes life feels like a rough sea storm, but often the deepest peace is found right after the biggest wave. Tonight's story is about Shim Cheong, a girl who faced the stormy ocean with a brave heart. Instead of fear, she found a sanctuary beneath the waves. In the magical dragon palace, she was cradled at a giant, beautiful lotus flower, safe from all harm. Tonight, imagine yourself resting inside that soft lotus bloom. Let the gentle currents of the deep sea rock you to sleep. Leave the noise of the surface behind. You are safe here. Now, let us dive into the deep blue story. Shim Cheong, Volume 1. In the final years of the Song dynasty, in Dowadong, Gwangju, there lived a man whose surname was Sim, and given name was Hakyu. His family had been a renowned clan of scholars for generations, and their fame was widespread. However, the family's fortunes declined, and at the age of 20, he became blind and could no longer see. As a result, his path to government office was cut off, and his hopes for honor and fame became futile. Living a destitute life in the countryside with no relatives near or far, and being blind in both eyes, who would treat him with respect? Yet, as a descendant of noblemen, his conduct was upright and his integrity strong, so everyone praised him as a man of virtue, Gunja. His wife, Lady Kwok, was wise and virtuous. There was nothing she did not know, from the virtues of teachers, the songs of the Yangtze, the fidelity of Mulan, to the Book of Rites, family rituals, the chapter on domestic rules, and the poems of Jonan, Shaonan, and Guanju. Thus, the household was harmonious, she treated the servants with grace, and her management of the family was worthy of being a model for 100 households. However, now their integrity had become poverty. Having inherited no property from their ancestors, it was difficult to even piece together a single meal in their one-room thatched house. They had no fields in the countryside nor servants to work in the house. The pitiful and benevolent Lady Kwok, disregarding her own body, went out to sell her labor. She did needlework such as making official uniforms, robes, traveling clothes, casual wear, and coats. She made military uniforms, vests, and coats. She did fine quilting, top stitching, single-strand knitting, blind stitching, heavy quilting, lining, smoothing, laundry, starching, and bleaching. She made summer clothes like unlined shirts and trousers, trimmed headbands, folded hat strings, and made vests, buttons, wristlets, socks, leggings, pouches, tobacco pouches, pant cuffs, waistbands, scent bags, cheek warmers, winter caps, hoods, and windbreakers. She embroidered pairs of mandarin ducks on pillow ends and cranes on rank badges, belts, and chest patches. She made burial clothes and mourning attire for bereaved families. She did weaving with silk, satin, embroidered silk, gauze, patterned silk, local silk, raw silk, and stiff silk, as well as hemp, ramie, spring cloth, patterned cloth, and coarse hemp. She prepared food for weddings and great events, making sinsolo, royal hot pot, ceremonial food, stacking piled dishes, and dyeing fabrics in blue, red, yellow, and white. She sold her labor for 360 days a year, not resting even half a day, working until her fingernails and toenails wore down. Gathering pennies to make coins, and coins to make yang, larger currency, she lent money to reliable neighbors and collected it without fail. She prepared ancestral rites in spring and autumn, and served her blind husband clothes and morning and evening meals with delicacies suited to his palate, honoring him with utmost sincerity. Therefore, all the villagers praised Lady Kwok for her virtue. One day, Sim Bongsa, blind man Sim, said, "My dear wife, is there anyone born into this world without a spouse? By what grace in a past life did we become a couple in this one? You have not left me, a blind head of the household, for even a moment. Day and night, you earn to support me as if caring for a young child, serving me clothes and food in time, so I might not be hungry or cold. I should say I am comfortable, but thinking of your suffering makes my heart uneasy. From now on, cease this extreme reverence for me, and let us live as our means allow. However, we are 40 years old and have not a single drop of blood or flesh, child, beneath our knees. The lineage of our ancestors will end with us. If we die and go to the underworld, with what face will we meet our ancestors? Thinking of our plight, who will conduct our funerals, and who will offer a bowl of rice and a sip of water on the anniversary of our deaths each year? If we offer prayers at famous mountains and great temples and are fortunate enough to bear even a blind child, Be it a boy or a girl, it would resolve the sorrow of my life. So please pray with all your heart." Lady Quack replied, "It is written in the old text that of the 3 unfilial acts, having no heir is the greatest. Our childlessness is all due to my sins, and I deserve to be cast out. Yet, by your broad virtue, I have been kept until now. My desire to have a child is desperate day and night. Would I not sell my body or grind my bones if I could? But our circumstances are poor, and not knowing your upright nature, I could not speak of it. Since you have spoken first, I will offer prayers with utmost sincerity." She sold her labor and spent all her earnings to offer every devotion. She made offerings at famous mountains, great temples, spiritual halls, ancient shrines, village shrines, to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Maitreya, the 7 stars, Big Dipper, the Arhats, Indra, and offered rice to the guardian spirits, the elderly spirits, clothes offerings, lantern offerings, and window paper offerings. She performed all manner of rites. On days she stayed home, she offered devoted prayers to the kitchen god, the house lord god, and the earth god. Would a tower built with such effort collapse, or a well-planted tree break? On the 8th day of the 4th month, in the year of Gapsha, she had a dream. Auspicious energy filled the air, and 5 colors shone brightly. A fairy riding a crane descended from the sky. She wore colorful clothes on her body and a flower crown on her head. A moon pendant hung loosely at her waist, making a clinking sound like jade. Holding a branch of cassia flowers in her hand, she bowed to the lady and nestled into her bosom to be breastfed. Her movement was like the spirit of the full moon entering her embrace, or the bodhisattva of the South Sea rising from the ocean. Her mind and body were so entranced it was hard to calm down. The fairy said, "I was the daughter of the Queen Mother of the West. On my way to present peaches of immortality, I met the Jade Maiden and we chatted, causing me to miss the appointed time. I offended the Lord on high and was cast out to the human world, not knowing where to go. But the old Lord of Mount Taeheng, the Earth Queen, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and Sakyamuni Buddha directed me to your noble house, so I have come. Please take pity on me." Startled as she entered her bosom, Lady Quack awoke to find it was a fleeting dream, Namgamong. She immediately woke Sim Bongsa and discussed the dream. The two had dreamt the exact same dream. Whatever happened that night, indeed from that month, she showed signs of pregnancy. Lady Quack, with a virtuous mind, did not sit if the mat was not straight, did not eat if the food was not cut properly, did not listen to obscene sounds, did not look at evil sights, and did not speak arrogant words. After filling 10 months, one day she felt the signs of childbirth. "Oh my belly! Oh my waist!" Sim Bongsa, at once happy and alarmed, gathered a handful of clean straw, placed a bowl of fresh water on a small table, knelt properly, and prayed, I pray to the 3 gods and the emperor. Since Lady Quack is giving birth late in life, let her have an easy delivery, like a cucumber seed slipping from an old straw shoe." While he prayed, unexpectedly, a fragrance filled the room and a 5-colored mist surrounded them. Amidst the confusion, a child was born, and indeed it was a daughter. Look at Sim Bongsa's behavior. He laid the child down, and while rejoicing, Lady Quack regained her senses and asked, "Look here, husband, is it a boy or a girl?" Sim Bongsa laughed loudly and touched the baby's genitals, but his hand passed over smoothly like a ferry boat, so he said, "It seems an old clam has produced a fresh clam." Lady Quack said sorrowfully, "Do you say the child we obtained through such devotion is a daughter?" Sim Bongsa said, "Wife, do not say that. First, it is a safe delivery. If we raise a daughter well, would we trade her for any son? Let us raise this daughter with care, teach her etiquette first, and have her learn sewing and weaving to become a modest lady. If we choose a good match and a noble husband for her, enjoying marital bliss and continuing the lineage, could a grandson from a daughter not conduct our ancestral rites?" He quickly prepared the first seaweed soup and rice, placed it on the table for the 3 gods, adjusted his clothes and hat, raised his 2 hands, and prayed. I pray. I make a vow to the king of the heaven of the 33 gods and the Tusita heaven, and ask the 3 gods and kings to unite in mind and look down upon us. A child granted after 40, dew formed in 1 or 2 months, blood gathered in 3 months, human form took shape in 4 months, gender determined in 5 months. The 6 essences appeared in the 6 months. The skeleton formed in 7 months. 48,000 hairs grew, and in 8 months, receiving the full load, the golden gate and the gate of deliverance opened gently for a safe birth. Is this not the virtue of the 3 gods? Although she is an only daughter, please grant her the lifespan of Dongfang Shuo, the virtue of Tairen, the filial piety of Emperor Shun and Zhengzi, the fidelity of Qiliang's wife, the talent of Ban Zhao, the fortune of Shi Cheong, and the blessing of having a warm home. Let her grow day by day and month by month without illness, like a cucumber on the vine or the moon waxing. He ladled out hot soup and rice, fed the mother, and then talked to the baby to himself. My gold child, my jade child, my precious daughter, are you Sukyang of the Pyojin River reborn? Did the weaving girl of the Milky Way descend to become you? Even if I acquired fertile fields in the south and north, would it be more welcome than this? Even if I obtained coral and pearls, would it be more welcome than this? Where have you been to be born only now? While he rejoiced like this, unexpectedly a post-childbirth illness struck. The wise and gentle Lady Kwok, not even 7 days after recovery, was exposed to too much cold wind and fell ill. Oh my stomach, oh my head, oh my chest, oh my legs. She suffered all over her body without clear form. Simbongsa was astounded, touching her painful spots all over. Wake up and speak to me. Is it indigestion? Is it the jealousy of the 3 gods? The illness became graver. Simbongsa, terrified, brought Song Sang-won from the village across to take her pulse. He used medicines like asparagus root, liriope tuber, panelia, dried tangerine peel, cinnamon, white poria, wind protection root, buplurum, cassia twig, apricot kernel, peach kernel, and the 100 herbs of Shenong, but there is no medicine for a destined death. As the illness deepened and death became inevitable, Lady Kwok knew she would not survive. Holding her husband's hand, she sighed deeply. Husband, and said, we wish to meet and grow old together for 100 years. If I, the mistress of this poor household, die and my blind husband is neglected, it is easy to become the subject of others' ridicule. So I tried my best to accept your will and honor you. Regarding neither cold nor heat, I sold my labor in the south and north villages to receive rice and side dishes. I ate the cold rice and gave the warm rice to you, husband, serving you with utmost respect so you would not be hungry or cold. Is heaven's mandate only this much, or has our connection been severed? I am helpless. How can I close my eyes and go? Who will sew clothes for you? Who will urge you to eat delicious food? Once I die, my husband with dim eyes will have no relatives, no place to turn, holding a gourd in hand and clutching a cane, wandering out at mealtimes, falling into ditches, tripping on stones, falling over and collapsing. I can see him crying in self-pity with my own eyes. The sad sound of begging for rice at every house rings in my ears. Even as a spirit after death, how could I bear to hear and see this? And the child born at 40, after prayers at famous mountains, to die without feeding her breast milk even once, without even properly seeing her face. What sin in a past life caused me to be born in this life to leave a motherless child? Whose milk will she drink to grow? Even my husband cannot take care of himself. How will he manage that little thing? What shall become of that sight? How can I wipe away tears on the long road to the Yellow Springs underworld? And how can I go when my path is blocked? I entrusted 10 yang of money to Mr. Lee's house across the way. Retrieve that 10 yang to help with the funeral. I put some rice for recovery in the cabinet, but I am dying without eating it all. My situation is desperate. Use it for provisions after the first ritual. I could not finish embroidering the crane on the official robe for Graduate Jin's house. I wrapped it in a cloth and put it in the bottom of the chest. If they come for it after I die, do not worry and give it to them. The mother of Gwidiok in the village across is close to me. If you take the baby to her and ask her to feed it, she will not refuse. If by heavenly fortune this child does not die but grows up and walks on her own feet, put her in front of you, ask the way, and come to my grave. Teach her, this is your dead mother's grave. If mother and daughter can meet, even as a ghost, I will have no regrets. There is no way to defy heaven's mandate. I leave the young child to my blind husband and bid you farewell and die. My precious husband, do not hurt yourself with too much grief. Please take care of your health 1,000 times over. Let us meet again in the next life to finish the karma we could not complete in this one, and live without parting. Oh, I forgot. I named that child Shim Cheong. My jade ring is in the box. When Shim Cheong grows up, give it to her as if seeing me. Also, the money bestowed by the king, with longevity, wealth, health, and peace carved on one side and great peace and comfort on the other, I put it in a beautiful red silk triangular pouch with a crimson cord tied in a bee knot. Give that to her to wear as well. She shook off the hand she was holding, sighed, turned away, pulled the baby close, rubbed her cheek against it, and clicked her tongue. Heaven and earth are heartless, and the ghosts are cruel. Either you should have been born earlier, or I should have lived a little longer. To have me die as soon as you are born, leaving you to resolve this boundless sorrow, what sin is there between the dying mother and the living child? Whose breast will you suck to survive? In whose bosom will you sleep? Oh, my baby, drink this last milk of mine and grow up quickly. 2 streams of tears wet her face. The sighing wind becomes a desolate rainstorm, and the tears gathering become a drizzling rain. The sky is low and dark clouds are thick. The birds crying in the forest stay silent and desolate. The water turning in the stream flows calmly, sobbing. How much more would a human being grieve? With 2 or 3 hiccups, her breath stopped with a rattle. Simbongsa then realized she was dead. I go, wife! Are you truly dead? What is this? He thumped his chest, banged his head, rolled this way and that, fell forward and backward, stomped his feet, and cried out in pain. My dear wife, if you had lived and I had died, you would have raised the child. But with me alive and you dead, how am I to raise that child? I go, cruel life. I wish to die, but what will happen to the young child? If we die together, what of her? I go, in the cold wind of the winter solstice, what will I dress her in to raise her? The moon sets in the dim, empty room. Who will feed the crying baby wanting milk? Do not, please do not die. Our lifelong vow was to die on the same day and be buried in the same hole. Where is the kingdom of Yama, hell, that you leave me and that child to die? If you go now, when will you return? I go. Losing a spouse in one's youth. Will you come following the spring? Will you come with the moon in the clear June sky? Flowers fall and bloom again. The sun sets and rises again. But once my wife is gone, can she never return? Did you go to follow the Queen Mother of the West to the Jade Pond feast? Did you go up to become a companion to Chang'e in the Moon Palace to make medicine? Did you go to talk of your feelings with the 2 queens at the tomb of Emperor Shun? Did you go to find Lady Sa who cried at Hosa Pavilion? Who shall I go to find? I go, how sorrowful. While he grieved like this, the people of Dowadong, men and women, old and young, gathered and shed tears, saying, The wise Lady Kwok has died so pitifully. There are about 100 households in our village. Let us help with the funeral by chipping in. 10 spoons make 1 bowl of rice. Public opinion was unanimous. They prepared the shroud and coffin properly, chose a burial site, and carried the bier out 3 days later. The dirge singers sang sadly, Woneo, Woneo, Woneoli, Neomcha, Woneo. They said Bukmang Mountain, burial ground, was far, but the mountain across is Bukmang. Woneo, Woneo, Woneoli, Neomcha, Woneo. They said the road to the Yellow Springs was far, but outside the door is the Yellow Springs. Woneo, Woneo. Poor Lady Kwok. Her conduct was modest and her talents were extraordinary, yet neither old nor young. She has left this world forever. Woneo, Woneo, Woneoli, Neomcha, Woneo, Owa, Neowa, Woneo. As they crossed this way and that, look at Simbongsa. He left the infant wrapped in swaddling clothes with Gwideok's mother, found his cane, followed along the rice paddies and fields, grasping the back of the bier. His voice was hoarse, so he could not cry loudly, but said, My dear wife, I should have died and you should have lived to save the young child. Wife, cruel to all under heaven and earth, if you die and I live, how can I, a blind man, raise a young child not yet 7 days old? Ego. While grieving, they arrived at the burial site, buried her, and finished the mound. Simbongsa performed the rite, composing a funeral address with sorrowful sincerity, and read it. Alas, wife, you were a modest lady. Alive, I have never seen one like you among the ancients. We intended to grow old together for 100 years, but suddenly you have passed away and returned to the spirits. You leave a young child behind forever. How shall I raise this one? Returning and not returning, separated by heaven. When will you come back? Trusting in the pine and catalpa, the grave, as your home, you lie as if sleeping. Your voice and face are silent, difficult to see or hear. Trickling tears become blood. My heart is startled and anxious. There is no way to live. I look for the one I miss, but what can I do? Becoming Zhuangzi, referencing the death of a wife, I am depressed. Upon whom shall I rely? The moon falls on the white poplar trees, the mountain is silent, and the night is deep. Sorrowfully wan, daring whatever I complain of, who will comfort me? If you come from the west and we meet, I will have no regrets in this life. Wine, fruit, dried meat, and a thin cup. Eat plenty and go back. As he finished reading the address, he thrashed about. I go, what is this? Go, go. What is the use of lamenting the wife who abandons me and goes? There are no inns on the road to the underworld. To whose house are you going? Tell me where you go. He grieved endlessly until the people who came for the funeral stopped him and brought him back. He entered the house. The kitchen was silent and the room was empty. The young child brought back lay alone in the messy, empty room, like a crab's leg dropped by a crow from Mount Tabec. Could his mind be whole? He stood up suddenly, touched the quilt, fumbled for the pillow. The blanket used to cover them was there as before, but sleeping alone in the empty room, whom would he cover and sleep with? He banged on the wardrobe, touched the sewing box, flung the comb pouch she used, felt the dining table she used to receive. He shouted into the kitchen in vain. He went to the neighbor's house and asked in vain, "Did my wife come here?" He held the child in his bosom and said, "Your mother is heartless. She died leaving you. Today you obtained milk to eat, but tomorrow, to whose house shall I go to get milk to feed you? I go, cruel and heartless ghost, you took my wife." After grieving like this, he reconsidered. The dead cannot come back to life. There is nothing to be done, but I must raise this child well. He went to houses with young children one by one to beg for milk. Being blind, he could not see, but his hearing was sharp, so he judged by instinct. Sitting and waiting, when he heard the sound of water being drawn at the well at dusk, he quickly stepped out. "Hello, ma'am. Hello, young laddie. Please feed this child a little milk. What can I do on my own? Even if you think of it as charity for when my wife was alive, how could you bear to neglect us? Is a motherless child not pitiful? Feed your precious baby, and please feed the remaining milk to this one." Who would not feed her? Also in June or July, he would seek out women weeding the fields and beg pitifully to feed her. Or if he went to where women were doing laundry by the stream, some women would soothe the baby and feed her warmly, telling him to come back later. Some women would say, "I just fed my baby, so I have no milk." When Shim Cheong had eaten enough milk and her belly was full, Sim Bongsa would be happy, squatting under a sunny bank to dandle the baby. "Baby, baby, are you sleeping? Baby, baby, are you laughing? Grow up quickly and be wise like your mother, be filial and show honor to your father. Do you have a grandmother? Do you have a maternal family to rely on?" There was no one to look after her for even a day. He begged for milk to feed her, laid her down, and when going out to beg in detail, he made a hemp sack with two ends. One end received rice and the other received cloth. Carrying her on his back, he went around all month, gathering a penny or two here and there to buy candy and mussels for the child's porridge. Living like this, he managed to perform the rites on the 1st and 15th of every month without worry. Also, since Shim Cheong was a person destined for greatness, the gods of heaven and earth helped her, and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas protected her, so she grew up without minor illnesses. She walked on her own and passed the minor milestones. Heartless time is like a wave. Before long she was 6 or 7. Her face was a national beauty. Her actions were agile. Her filial piety moved the heavens. Her understanding was excellent, and her benevolence was like Qilin. Who would not praise her for knowing how to serve her father morning and evening and perform her mother's rites according to the rules? One day she said to her father, "Even a lowly crow knows to feed its parents back when the sun sets. How can a human be less than a lowly animal? Father, your eyes are dim. When you go to beg for rice, stumbling on high and deep places or narrow paths, you could fall and be hurt. If the weather is bad, with rain, wind, or frost, you might catch a cold. I worry day and night. I am 7 or 8 years old. If I do not honor the grace of my parents who gave me birth and raised me now, how could I repay it by grieving on the day you become unhappy? From today, Father, if you guard the house, I will go out and beg for rice to lessen your worries about morning and evening meals. Simbongsa laughed and said, Your words are admirable. The sentiment is right, but how can my heart be at ease sending young you out and sitting here receiving food? Do not say such things again. She spoke again. Jongyu was a sage, yet he carried rice from 100 away for his parents. Tiing was a young girl, yet she sold her own body to redeem her father imprisoned in Luoyang. If we think of such things, are people different in ancient times and now? Please do not be stubborn. Simbongsa considered it right. Admirable, my daughter. You are a filial daughter. My daughter, do as you say. From that day, when Shim Cheong went out to beg for rice, the sun shone on the distant mountains and smoke rose from the front village. She tied a belt over old hemp clothes, wore a lined jacket with no front overlap and only sleeves remaining, tied it loosely, put on a blue cotton winter cap, went barefoot without socks, dragged shoes with no heels, tucked an old gourd under her arm, held a jar tied with a string in her hand, and ignored the cold on severe winter days. She went to the front of every door, begging pitifully. My mother left this world, and who does not know that my father is blind and cannot see? It is 10 spoons to make 1 bowl. If you eat 1 spoon less of rice and give it to me, my blind father will escape hunger. People who saw and heard were moved, giving bowlfuls of rice, kimchi, and soy sauce without sparing. Or if they told her to eat and go, Shim Cheong would say, My old father in the cold room must be waiting. How can I eat alone? I will go back quickly and eat with my father. When she obtained rice from 2 or 3 houses, it was enough. She returned quickly, entering the door. Father, are you not cold? Father, you are hungry, aren't you? Father, you waited. Naturally, I was late. Simbongsa, having sent his daughter out, had no peace of mind and was marveling at her. Hearing her voice, he welcomed her instantly, flung the door open, grasped her 2 hands. Are your hands cold? He blew on them with his mouth. Your feet are cold, too. He rubbed them, clicked his tongue, and wept. Aigo, how sad. Your mother is gone. My fate, that I should survive by making you beg for food. Aigo, this cruel life survived shamefully to make my child suffer. Shim Cheong comforted her father with utmost filial piety. Father, do not say that. Supporting parents and receiving filial piety from children is the proper way of heaven and natural for humans. Do not worry too much. Please eat. Holding her father's hand, she said, This is kimchi. This is soy sauce. Since you are hungry, eat plenty. Providing for him like this through spring, summer, autumn, and winter, regardless of the season, she became the village beggar. 1 year, 2 years, 4 or 5 years passed. Her talent was agile and her needlework skilled, so she did not eat idle food for village sewing. When given wages, she saved them to prepare clothes and side dishes for her father. On days with no work, she begged for rice to barely sustain their lives. Time flowed like water, and she reached the age of 15. Her face was like the autumn moon, her filial piety was extraordinary, her demeanor was peaceful, and her actions were exceptional. She was a natural-born, virtuous woman. Could she be taught to act so? She was a gentleman among women, a phoenix among birds. Rumors of this spread far and wide. One day, a maid from the house of Minister Zhang in Wolpyeong Murong village came in, having received the lady's order to invite Miss Sim. Shim Cheong said to her father, Since an elder calls, I will go with the maid in return. If I am delayed, I have placed the leftover rice, side dishes, and spoon on the table, so please eat if you are hungry. Please wait for me to return and take care. Following the maid, she looked where the maid pointed. The willow trees planted in front of the door formed a shady village. Entering the main gate, a parasol tree on the left dropped clear dew, waking a crane from its dream. A flat pine tree on the right rustled in the clear breeze like an old dragon writhing. Entering the middle gate, the flowers planted in front of the window, daylilies and phoenix-tail ferns, had sprouting inner leaves. The lotus pond in front of the pavilion had white gulls joyful, lotus leaves floating high above the water, and pairs of goldfish swimming in the round, broad mirror. Entering the inner middle gate, the house and furniture were magnificent and the embroidered windows were brilliant. The lady, over 50, was dressed neatly and had a prosperous air, full of blessings. Seeing Miss Sim, she was delighted and held her hand. "Are you indeed Shim Cheong? You are exactly as I heard." She gave her a seat, comforted her pitiful situation, and examined her closely. She was clearly a heavenly beauty. Her modest, seated demeanor was like a swallow that bathed behind a kingfisher on a white stone in a blue river, startled by a person. That beautiful face was like the moon rising in the middle of the sky reflected in the water. Her eyes, glancing sideways like autumn waves, were like the twinkling morning star in the clear dawn sky. The lovely color of her cheeks was like a lotus freshly blooming in the morning sun on Loyang's peaks. Her eyebrows were like the spirit of the crescent moon. Her thick black hair was like freshly grown orchids, and the hair at her temples was like cicada wings. When she opened her mouth to smile, it was like a peony flower opening in the dampness of a night's rain. When she opened her white teeth to speak, she was a parrot from Mount Long. The lady praised her, saying, "Do you not know your past life? Clearly, you are a fairy. You live in exile in Dowa Dong. The fairies playing in the Moon Palace have lost a friend. Seeing you today is no accident. I am in Murong Peach Blossom Village, and you were born in Dowa Peach Blossom Ward. Spring has come to Murong Village, and flowers have bloomed in Dowa Ward. You have captured the spirit of heaven and earth. You are extraordinary. Listen to me. The minister passed away early. I have 3 sons. They went to the capital for government service. I have no other children or grandchildren, and no joy at my knees. I have no one to talk to before my eyes. My daughters-in-law in their respective rooms do their own work after asking after me morning and evening. In my lonely empty room, I face only the candle and look only at old books. Thinking of your circumstances, a descendant of nobility living in such poverty, how is it not pitiful? If you become my adopted daughter, I will teach you women's work and literature, raise you like my own child, and find joy in my old age. What is your will?" Miss Sim rose, bowed twice, and said, "My fate is cruel. My mother had the misfortune to leave the world within 7 days of my birth. My blind father barely survived by feeding me begging milk. I do not know my mother's face, so the sorrow of reaching heaven never ends. Thinking of my parents, I respect others' parents too. Today, Madam Minister, your intention to adopt me without considering my lowly status makes me feel overwhelmed and grateful, as if seeing my deceased mother again. I have nowhere to place my heart. If I follow your words, my body will be honored, but who will provide morning and evening meals and seasonal clothes for my blind father? Your benevolent virtue is known to everyone, but the saying that a child is born to be separated from parents is not right. I serve my father as a mother as well, and my father trusts me as a son as well. If not for my father, would I have lived until now? And if I am gone, there is no way for my father to finish his remaining years. Relying on the sentiment of the crow feeding its mother, I intend to serve him until my body ends." As she finished speaking, tears wetting her jade-like face was like spring rain forming on peach blossoms and falling drop by drop. The lady was also moved, stroking her back. A filial daughter. Your words, indeed it seems right. Old and confused, I did not think that far." Before they knew it, the day was growing dark. Shim Cheong said, "Thanks to your kind virtue, I have stayed all day and am greatly honored. The sunlight is fading, so I must return quickly to comfort my father's waiting heart." The lady could not stop her. Feeling affectionate, she gave her generous amounts of silk, fabrics, and provisions. Sending a maid with her, she said, "Do not forget me. If we maintain the bond of mother and daughter, it will be a happiness for this old woman." Shim Cheong replied, "Since your noble intention extends this far, I will accept your teachings." She bowed, bid farewell, and walked home blankly. At this time, Sim Bongsa was sitting alone waiting for Shim Cheong. He was hungry and his back stuck to his stomach. The room was cold and his chin trembled. Sparrows flew in and the sound of a distant temple bell was heard. Guessing the day was waning, he talked to himself. Why is my daughter Shim Cheong so occupied that she doesn't know the day is ending? Is she detained by the host and cannot come? On her way back in the dark, is she delayed by friends? Hearing the dog bark at someone passing in the wind and snow, he rejoiced thinking Shim Cheong was coming. He rushed out in welcome, his worn coat flapping in the wind and snow, thinking the sound was Shim Cheong's footsteps. "Shim Cheong, are you coming?" In the silence, there was no trace of anyone. His vain heart was deceived. He found his cane, went out the brushwood gate, and fell as if pushed into a ditch that was deeper than his height. His face was the color of earth and his clothes were frozen. Jumping only made him sink deeper. Trying to get out, he slipped. He was helplessly about to die. No matter how he shouted, the sun had set and the road was empty. Who would save him? The so-called Buddha who saves lives is everywhere. Just then, the Hwajasong, monk collecting alms of Mongun Temple, intending to rebuild the temple, came down carrying a subscription list. The green mountains were dark and the moon on the snow was returning. While finding his way to the temple on a stony path, he heard a sorrowful voice on the wind asking to save a person. With a compassionate heart, the monk went to the source of the sound. A person had fallen into the ditch and was almost dead. In his urgency, the monk threw his bamboo staff and rosary onto a rock with a clatter, took off his peaked hat, ink-colored robe, and cloth belt, took off his 6-strand straw shoes, leggings, ankle bands, and socks. He hitched up his quilted trousers and jacket and rushed in with a shout, grabbed Simbongsa's top knot, and pulled him out with a heave. It was Simbongsa whom he had seen before. The blind man regained his senses and asked, "Who is it?" The monk replied, "I am the soliciting monk from Mongun Temple." "Is that so? You are a living Buddha. You saved a dying man. Your grace is unforgettable." The monk carried Simbongsa on his back, sat him in the room, and asked the reason for his fall. Simbongsa lamented his fate and told the whole story. The monk said to the blind man, "It is pitiful. The Buddha of our temple has great spiritual power. There is nothing that cannot be done if prayed for, and he responds if asked. If you offer 300 sacks of rice to the Buddha and pray with sincerity, you will surely open your eyes and become a whole person, seeing the heaven and earth and all things." Simbongsa, not thinking of his poverty, was captivated by the words, "Open your eyes. Then write down 300 sacks." The monk laughed, "Ha ha," and said, "Look here. Looking at your household circumstances, how will you manage 300 sacks?" Simbongsa said in a fit of anger, "Look here. What son of a cow would write it down before the Buddha and speak empty words? Do you think I'll become a cripple while trying to open my eyes? Why do you look down on people? Do not worry and write it down." The monk opened his knapsack and on the first red strip wrote, "Simhakyu, 300 sacks of white rice." After he bid farewell and left, Simbongsa sent the monk away and thought again. There was no way to produce 300 sacks of offering rice. He tried to wish for blessings but would instead gain sin. What to do about this? This sorrow, that sorrow, old sorrow, and new sorrow gathered together and rose up. Unable to bear it, he cried, I go, my fate, how senile I am, my affairs, heaven's heart is just and fair, without partiality, but for what reason did I become blind and my life become so destitute? I have no way to distinguish things as bright as the sun and moon. Even facing my wife and child, I cannot see them. If my dead wife were alive, there would be no worries about food. I send my growing daughter out to the village to sell her labor and beg for rice to barely survive. In the midst of this, I boldly wrote down 300 sacks of offering rice. Even if I think in 100 ways, there is no plan. If I tilt the empty jar, there is not a single measure of grain. If I search the wardrobe, why would there be a penny? Even if I sell this 2-room hut, it cannot escape the wind and rain, so who would live in it? I try to sell my body, but it is not worth a penny, so who would buy it? Some people are lucky. Their eyes and ears are perfect, limbs are complete, husband and wife grow old together, descendants fill the hall, grain is abundant, and wealth is forever. They use it without exhaustion and take without end, having nothing to envy. I go, my fate. Is there another like me? A cripple or a hunchback may be sad, but they see their parents and wife. A mute who cannot speak may be sad, but he sees all things in heaven and earth. While he was sighing like this, Shim Cheong came back hurriedly. Seeing her father's appearance, she was startled and stamped her feet, touching him all over. Father, what is this? Did you suffer this humiliation while coming out to find me? Did you suffer this mishap going to a neighbor's house? How cold you must be, and how angry. The old lady at the minister's house held me back, so I was delayed before I knew it. She called the minister's maid. "Please light a fire with the wood in the kitchen," she asked, then gathered her skirt, wiped away her tear stains, and said, "Please eat. I brought warm food. Drink the soup first." She took his hand and guided it. "This is kimchi. This is salted fish." Sim Bongsa, his face full of sorrow, had no intention to eat. "Father, what is the matter? Where does it hurt? Are you angry because I came late?" "No, it is useless for you to know." "Father, what are you saying? What fault can there be in the heavenly bond between father and son? Father trusts only me, and I trust only Father to discuss all matters big and small. Today you say it is useless for me to know. No matter how unfilial I am, since you do not speak, I am sad at heart." Simbongsa finally spoke. "What matter would I hide from you? But if you knew, it would only worry your utmost heart, so I did not speak. A while ago, waiting for you, you did not come until dark. I was so frustrated I went out to meet you and fell into a ditch deeper than new. My height. I was almost dead, but unexpectedly the soliciting monk from Mongan Temple saved me. He said if I sincerely donated 300 sacks of offering rice, I would open my eyes in this life and see all things in heaven and earth. In a fit of anger, I had him write it down. After sending the monk away, I thought about it. In a situation where we don't have a penny, where would 300 sacks come from? It is indeed a regret." Shim Cheong rejoiced at hearing this and comforted her father. "Father, do not worry, and please eat. If you regret, it will not be sincere. If you wish to open your dim eyes and see the world, I will prepare the 300 sacks of offering rice by any means and offer it to Mongan Temple. No matter how you try, how can you do what is impossible, like being atop a 100-foot pole?" Shim Cheong replied. "Wang Xiang broke the ice to get carp, and the man named Guoju tried to bury his child because he ate from his parents' table, but obtained a pot of gold to support his parents. My filial piety is not equal to the ancients, but they say sincerity moves heaven. The offering rice will naturally be obtained. Please do not worry." She comforted him in 10,000 ways. From that day, she bathed and purified herself, cut her hair, cleaned the house, built an altar in the backyard, and in the dead of night under the Big Dipper when all was silent, she lit a lamp, offered a bowl of fresh water, and prayed. On this day of this month, Shim Cheong bows respectfully. Spirits of heaven, earth, sun, moon, and stars, earth queen, mountain spirits, city gods, 5 directions gods, and river god, and foremost Sakyamuni Buddha, the 3 Vajras, 7 Bodhisattvas, 8 legions, 10 kings, and Gangrim Doryong, please receive this offering. God placed the sun and moon to be people's eyes. If there were no sun and moon, how could we distinguish anything? My father went blind before 30 and cannot see objects. I beg to take my father's fault upon my body and brighten my father's eyes." She prayed ceaselessly like this. One day she heard that merchants from Nanjing were looking to buy a 15-year-old girl. Shim Cheong rejoiced at these words. She asked Guideok's mother to act as an intermediary and asked the reason for buying a person. "We are Nanjing sailors. When we pass in Dangsu, if we sacrifice a living person, we can cross the boundless ocean safely and make a huge profit. If there is a maiden willing to sell her body, we will pay any price without sparing." Hearing this, Shim Cheong said, "I am a person of this village. My father is blind, and they say if we offer 300 sacks of rice with sincerity, he will open his eyes. But our family is destitute, and there is no way to arrange it, so I wish to sell my body. How is it if you buy me?" Hearing this, the sailors said, "Her filial piety is extreme, but it is pitiful." They agreed and immediately transported 300 sacks of rice to Mongan Temple, saying the ship would depart on the 15th of the 3rd month of this year. Shim Cheong told her father, "The 300 sacks of offering rice have already been transported, so please do not worry anymore." Simbongsa was startled. "What do you mean by that? How could a naturally filial daughter like Shim Cheong deceive her father?" But the situation was unavoidable, so she deceived him with a momentary trick. "The old lady at Minister Jiang's house wanted to adopt me last month, but I could not bear to agree. Now, finding no way to arrange the 300 sacks of rice, I told this story to the old lady. She gave me 300 sacks of white rice, so I have been sold as an adopted daughter." Hearing this, Simbongsa, unaware of the true nature of things, rejoiced. Then it is wonderful. That lady is the wife of a prime minister of the country. Perhaps it is different. There will be much future fortune. That is why her 3 sons rose to high office. However, for a child of nobile, Iti to be sold is strange. But being sold as an adopted daughter to Minister Jiang's house, does it matter? When do you go? They said they will take me on the 15th of next month. Oh, that worked out very well. From that day, Shim Cheong thought deeply. The thought of leaving her blind, white-haired father forever to die, and dying at the age of 15 after being born into the world, made her mind dizzy. She had no will for anything, stopped eating and drinking, and lived in sorrow. Then she thought again, it is spilled water and a shot arrow. The day is getting closer. I cannot go on like this. While I am alive, I will do laundry for my father's clothes. She sewed the linings of spring and autumn clothes, attached sleeves and collars to summer clothes, and hung them up. She padded winter clothes with cotton, wrapped them in cloth, and put them in the chest. She folded blue cotton hat strings, attached them to hats, and hung them on the wall. She fixed the headbands and hung them up. Counting the days until the ship's departure, only 1 day remained. The night was quiet, the 3rd watch, and the Milky Way had tilted. Facing only the candle, she knelt with knees together, bowed her head, and sighed deeply. No matter how filial could her heart be whole, she decided to make her father's socks for the last time. As she threaded the needle, her chest felt tight, her eyes dim, and her mind dizzy. Sorrow surged from her liver, deep inside, but fearing her father would wake, she could not cry loudly. She sobbed quietly, touching his face and feeling his limbs. How many nights are left to see me? Once I die, whom will he rely on to live? Pitiful, my father. After I learned to understand things, he stopped begging, but starting tomorrow he will become a village beggar again. How much will he suffer from others' looks and contempt? What a harsh fate, that my mother died within 7 days, and now I separate from my father. Is there such a thing? Su Tongchuan parting from his mother at Xinjiang, the brothers parting at Longshan, friends parting at Weicheng, Wuxi and Yuenu parting as husband and wife. There are many such partings, but parting alive implies a day to hear news and a day to meet again. But our parting of father and daughter, on what day will we know news, and at what time will we meet? My deceased mother is in the Yellow Springs, underworld, and if I die now, I will go to the water palace. How many thousands of li is it from the water palace to the Yellow Springs? Even if I wish to meet my mother, how will she know me, and how will I know her? If I ask and search and meet my mother, she will surely ask for news of father. With what words shall I answer? If I could detain the 5th watch of tonight in the pool of the setting sun and tie tomorrow morning's rising sun to the mulberry tree, Fusang. Alas, I wish to serve my father a little longer, but who can stop the passing months and days? I go, how sorrowful. Heaven and earth have no mercy. Eventually the rooster crowed. Shim Cheong, helpless, said, Rooster, rooster, do not crow. Please, by your virtue, do not crow. This is not Mengchang Jun at Hanggu Pass. If you crow, the day breaks. If the day breaks, I die. Dying is not sad, but how can I leave my helpless father and go? Before long, the east brightened. Shim Cheong decided to cook the last meal for her father. She opened the door and stepped out, but the sailors were already outside the brushwood gate, saying, Today is the sailing day, so please let us go quickly. Hearing this, Shim Cheong's face lost color, her limbs lost strength, her throat choked, and her mind spun. She barely called the sailors. Look here, sailors, I already knew today was the sailing day, but my father still does not know that my body has been sold. If he finds out, he will faint and cause an uproar. Please wait a moment. I will cook the last meal for my father, and after he eats, I will tell him and then leave. The sail, Oars said, please do so. Shim Cheong entered, cooked rice with tears, and offered it to her father. Sitting opposite him at the table, urging him to eat plenty, she tore pieces of salted fish to put in his mouth and wrapped rice in laver to place on his spoon. Please eat plenty. Simbongsa, knowing nothing, said, Hey, the side dishes are very good today. Did someone's house have a sacrifice? Having dreamt that night, he had a premonition. It was the bond between father and child. Baby, there is a strange thing. Last night I had a dream. I saw you riding a large carriage and going endlessly. A carriage is what noble people ride. Maybe there will be some good fortune in our house. If not, perhaps the minister's house is sending a palanquin to take you." Shim Cheong guessed it was a dream of her death, but lied. "That is a good dream." She cleared the table and lit tobacco for him. Facing that table to eat, tears rotting her liver gushed from her eyes. Thinking of her father's plight and her own impending death, her mind went dark and her body trembled. She could not eat and sent the table away. Shim Cheong went to the ancestral shrine to bid farewell. She washed her face again, quietly opened the shrine door and said, "Your unfilial descendant Shim Cheong sold her body as a sacrifice to Indangsu to open her father's eyes. The line of our ancestors is cut off from here. I cannot overcome my longing for you." She cried and bid farewell. Closing the shrine door, she came before her father, grasped his two hands and fainted. Shim Bongsa was startled. Baby, what is this? Gather your senses and speak." Shim Cheong said, "I, your unfilial daughter, deceived you, father. Who would give me 300 sacks of offering rice? I sold my body to the Nanjing sailors as a sacrifice for Indangsu. Today is the day I leave. Please look at me for the last time." Hearing this, Shim Bongsa said, "Is it true? Is it true? I go. What words are these? You cannot go. How could you do this on your own without asking me? If you live and I open my eyes, that would be acceptable. But to kill my child to open my eyes, is that something one can bear to do? Your mother bore you late and died within 7 days. I, a blind old man, held you in my bosom, wandering from house to house saying humiliating words, begging for milk to raise you. Now that you have grown this much, no matter how blind I am, I see you through my eyes. After your mother died, things were gradually getting better. What words are these? Do not, you cannot do it. Wife dead and child lost, why should I live? Let us die together, you and I. I would sell my eyes to save you. If I sell you to open my eyes, what would I see with them? What kind of fate makes me a man who loses everything? 4 sorrows. You scoundrels, trade is fine, but where have you seen buying people to kill for sacrifice? Are heaven's benevolence and the ghost's bright minds without retribution? To lure a blind man's only daughter, a naive child, without my knowledge and buy her with money. I don't want money, I don't want rice, you scoundrels. Do you not know the old texts? In the 7-year drought, when told to pray with a human sacrifice, King Tang said benevolently, "My praying now is for the people. If I must pray by killing a person, I will take the place myself." He offered his body as a sacrifice, cutting his hair and nails, and prayed in the mulberry forest. Rain fell for thousands of li. Such things happen, but how about I go instead with my body? Look here, villagers, do you just watch those scoundrels? Shim Cheong held her father, weeping and comforting him. "Father, there is no choice. I will die, but father, please open your eyes, see the bright world, find a good person to marry, bear sons and daughters to continue the lineage. Do not think of your unfilial daughter and live long, measureless years. This is also heaven's mandate. What is the use of regret?" Seeing that pitiful scene, the sailors discussed among themselves. Considering Miss Sim's filial piety and Shim Bongsa's lifelong plight, how about we set up a share so the blind man won't starve or go naked? They agreed it was right. They brought 200 sacks of rice, 300 yang of money, and a roll each of cotton and hemp into the village. They gathered the villagers and made arrangements. Give the 200 sacks of rice and 300 yang to a diligent person to manage without loss, to provide for Shim Bongsa. Of the 300 sacks, keep 20 for this year's provisions and lend out the rest annually to live off the interest, which would provide ample food. The cotton and hemp were to provide seasonal clothes. They issued an official document to this effect to the local magistrate and relayed it to the village. After making all distinctions, they prepared to take Shim Cheong. Only then did the lady of Minister Jiang's house in Murung village hear this. She urgently sent a maid to invite Miss Sim. Shim Cheong followed the maid. The minister's wife ran out the gate, held Shim Cheong's hand, and wept, saying, "You heartless person, I considered you as a child, but you do not think of me as a mother. To say you are sold for 300 sacks of rice to go die. Your filial piety is extreme, but is it equal to being alive in the world? If you had discussed it with me, I would have arranged it long ago. I will give you 300 sacks of white rice now. Give it back to the sailors and do not speak such reckless words again." Miss Sim replied, "How can I regret now what I did not say at the beginning? Also, if I am praying for merit for my father, how can I borrow someone else's nameless wealth? If I return the 300 sacks of rice, the sailors will face a sudden disaster, which is also difficult. Having promised my body to others and set the agreement, if I break the contract now, it is a cowardly act that I cannot follow. Furthermore, having received the price and the document having passed, how could I bear to lift my face and speak? Madame, your heaven-like grace and kind words, I will return to the underworld and repay your kindness by nodding grass after death." Tears soaked her collar. The lady looked again. Shim Cheong was solemn. Helpless, she could not stop her again nor let her go. Miss Sim wept and said, "Madame, you are my parent from a past life. When shall I serve you again? I will write a poem to express my feelings. Please see it as proof of me." The lady gladly brought out paper, brush, and ink. When she lifted the brush to write, tears became rain, falling drop by drop. They became clusters of flowers, a painting on a scroll. She hung it in the main hall and looked. The writing said, "Life and death are but a dream. Why must tears flow for drawn affection? But in this world there is a place of greatest heartbreak. The person does not return to the green grass of Jiangnan." The meaning of this poem is, living and dying for a person is within a dream, so why must one shed tears by drawing on affection? But there is a place of most heartbreaking sorrow in the world. The person does not return to the green grass of the South River. The lady stroked it again and again, saw the writing, and said, "You are indeed not a person of this world. Your writing is truly that of a fairy. Clearly, your karma in the human world is over, and the Lord on high is calling you. How can you avoid it? I will also write a rhyme in response." She wrote a poem that said, "Suddenly wind and rain darken the night, to whose door is the blown bright flower falling. Exile to the human world is surely heaven's will, but it is strange to sever the love and grace between adamant father and child." The meaning of this poem is, suddenly wind and rain make the night dark, to whose door is the beautiful flower blown and falling. Coming in exile to the human world is surely heaven doing so. But it is strange that it makes the strong love and grace between father and child be cut off. Miss Sim put that poem in her bosom and parted with tears. It was unbearable to watch. Shim Cheong returned and bid farewell to her father. Simbongsa held her, jumping and agonizing. "Kill me before you go. You cannot go just like that. Take me with you. You cannot go alone." Shim Cheong comforted her father. "Do I cut the heavenly bond of father and child because I want to, or die because I want to? My fate is blocked, and life and death have a time. It is what heaven does, so what is the use of lamenting? If we went by human feelings, there would never be a day to leave." She had the village people hold her father. Following the sailors, she wailed loudly, tightened her skirt string, gathered her skirt, let her disheveled hair hang below her ears, and tears flowing like rain soaked her clothes. Stumbling and falling, as she was supported away, she looked at the house across the way. "Eldest daughter of so-and-so's house, with whom will you do fine stitching and embroidery? Do you remember playing on the swing on Dano Day last May? Youngest daughter of so-and-so's house, we agreed to weave together on the night of Tanabata this July, but now it is in vain. When shall I see you again? You have good fortune, serve your parents, and live well." The village people, regardless of age or gender, held each other and cried until their eyes were swollen. After parting at the top of the fortress, whether heaven knew or not, the bright sun disappeared. Dark clouds were thick, the green mountains seemed to frown, the river sound sobbed, the flowers that were drooping beautifully withered as if losing their color, and the green willow branches drooped as if dozing. The spring birds were affectionate. Amidst their 100 songs she asked, "That oriole? Whom did it part from that it cries so calling for a friend?" Unexpectedly the cuckoo cries tears of blood, leaving the moonlit empty mountain behind. Why cry better to return, Buryogwi on the branch? Even if you cry, how can a body sold for a price return? Flowers blown by the wind hit her jade-like face. Holding a flower, she looked at it. If the spring wind does not understand my meaning, why does it blow falling flowers to me? Emperor Wu of Han and Princess Shouyang have plum blossom makeup, but for whom shall a body going to die put on makeup? Flowers falling in the spring mountain want to fall, but the situation is unavoidable. Whom shall I blame? Looking back with every step, shedding tears with every second step, she arrived at the river head. They placed a plank at the bow of the boat, guided Shim Cheong, loaded her into the boat, weighed anchor, and hoisted the sail. Several sailors shouted, "Aogya, Aogya, Aogyang." Chanting and beating the drum, rowing the boat, they departed floating into the middle of the stream.